Hi Glenabbey, my name is Mike and I'm going to be sharing with you today as part of Glenabbey's Rooted Christmas series. One of my least favourite parts of this time of year is just how dark it can be. Open up the blinds to pitch black and then leaving for work to realise that the sun has finished up work before you have can be kind of a bit rubbish, just a bit miserable sometimes. So it's no surprise then that one of my favourite parts of Christmas decorations are the lights. I love seeing things lit up. I love seeing massive trees and street lights and houses just littered with flashing lights of whatever colours. I love driving to work and seeing random trees lit up about 4 or 5 fields away. It just lifts the mood. I love lights at Christmas time. And so that's what I kind of want to focus on a little bit today. Light is something I definitely take for granted. We assume that we're going to have light each and every day, be it artificial lights when we turn on the lights when we get up, or just the natural light that comes with the sun is something we just assume will be there. Light is defined as an energy that travels in forms of different varying wavelengths. And for those of us who are blessed enough to have sight, light is essential for us to be able to see. It is the light that enters our eye and we process. It is also essential for so much. It's essential for plant life. It's essential for our health, even things like how our skin absorbs it and generates vitamin D and regulates our calcium and our phosphate. And even just everyday activities. I cannot imagine. I imagine that all of us actually would very much struggle to survive even, a couple of hours, never mind a day, without light. It is also a thing of beauty. We think of photographers who obsess over the lighting and the timing of day so that they can get the perfect shot. We think of beautiful sunsets and sunrises. We think of even the phenomena of aurora borealis, the northern lights, and just the beauty that portrays. So light is both essential and a beautiful thing, and it's mentioned in the Bible a lot. In the NIV, it's in the Bible 230 times. Now, disclaimer, I have not read all 232 passages to clarify the context, but I trust and I'm pretty sure that a lot of these references are in relation to God being our light and Jesus being the light of the world. So why don't we plug straight into that? And if you could read with me John 1 verses 4 to 5, it says this: "In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Similarly to physical light, the light of mankind, Jesus Christ, is a light that I definitely take for granted far too often. A light that radiates more beauty than any sunset or sunrise ever can. And he is the light which enables us to truly see. Notice where John says this light, that is Jesus Christ, shines in the darkness. Now, often I've heard, and this year in particular, the world being described as a dark place, probably a few down after unprecedented and strange times in the list of most adjectives used to describe 2020. But sadly, it's very accurate. We are in a dark world. There is darkness all around us in a spiritual sense. The encouraging thing, however, is in verse 5, where John informs us that the darkness has not overcome the light. and indeed cannot and will not ever overcome it. Now, if that doesn't make you feel incredibly encouraged and uplifted, then I don't know what will. By definition, darkness is the absence of light. It's not a physical thing. It's not a waveform or an energy like light. This means that by increasing levels of light, we can reduce the amount of darkness. But you cannot add darkness to reduce light. Darkness cannot be increased to overcome light, but light can be increased to overcome darkness. And that's where we, the church, come in. Read with me Matthew 5, verses 14 to 16. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. We have been given this special privilege to be a light in the world. God could easily, and probably often does, do this without us. But he has enabled each of us this privilege of playing our role in the tapestry of life and living out his will by shining brightly in the dark places. That is one of our kind of main objectives in life, is to shine brightly for God in those dark places. And that is sharing our personal relationship of this loving and saving God with those around us, particularly those who don't know him, those who are in the dark. As already mentioned, darkness cannot be increased to overcome light. Darkness only occurs as a result of there not being enough light in that place. I wonder where in the circumstances and the relationships and the hearts of the people in your lives do you see most darkness? And how can you overcome that darkness with the light and the glory of Jesus Christ in those situations? Perhaps it's something simple like delivering a Christmas card to a lonely neighbour and checking in, seeing how they're doing. Or just a phone call or a text to a colleague that you maybe haven't seen in months, or a friend you haven't been able to see because of just the restrictions of this year. I encourage you to have a think today about those dimly lit or dark places. How can you light them up? How can you show God's love and truth in those places? Excuse my cliche analogy to finish, but during the summer months I was at a barbecue at a friend's house in the garden, and when we arrived it was light. We could see each other fine, but obviously with time the sun set, the light faded and it got darker inevitably. Visibility dropped, and just as it was getting pretty poor in terms of visibility, on popped these solar powered lights, brightened everything up. Darkness was gone again and we could see each other clearly again. And sometimes I think of Christians as these solar powered lights. You know, these lights spend their time in the day absorbing energy from the sun. And as a result of spending loads of time in the presence of the sun and absorbing that energy and that light, they can be effective in the place of darkness when it's needed. Had these lights spent all their time in darkness and no time in the sun, they would be completely ineffective. But they spent time absorbing that light and were able to shine brightly in the dark. Simple analogy, and I'm sure you get exactly where I'm going with this. But we as Christians ought to spend time absorbing the light from the one true Son, Jesus. How are we doing that? How often are we spending time in that light? Or are we just going into the darkness expecting to shine brightly, having spent no time actually absorbing that energy and that light from Christ and getting to know him better? So if you spend all your time, trying to be a light and no time plugging into and getting to know the giver of light and light, you're going to be ineffective. It's as simple as that. I urge you just to rejoice this Christmas as you think about the light that has come into the world, and reflect on how you can be better light for Christ in the circumstances he has placed you in today. Thanks for listening. God bless. Merry Christmas.